Hi, I'm David Kelley, President and CEO of Chakana Copper. Chakana is a junior exploration company focused in Peru. We've made a very exciting copper, gold, silver discovery in the Ancash province of Peru. It's just south of the Pierina mine. We put an initial resource out with 650,000 ounces of gold equivalent, starting at surface, open at depth, high grade, and we've only tested 28% of the targets defined to date. We have a strategic investor in Gold Fields who's invested $12 million since 2019, and we have a very aggressive exploration plan to expand the resources and test a number of additional targets in 2023.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Matt.
Well, I'm a resident here. You just drove down. How far away is it from where you're based?
2 hours to Golden.
Oh, not too bad. Yeah. Wowzers. And beautiful country. We actually drove from Denver. Stunning on the way here. Right. We're at the conference, Beaver Creek, very popular conference. In fact, This seems to be one of the biggest ones for some time, they're telling me. You're here to do what?
Well, for me, it's here to meet with potential investors. It's a unique blend of mining companies that are here to talk to the investment, industry. Everything from individual investors to lots of the institutional investors are here. The royalty companies are here. Yeah. So you can tick a lot of boxes by talking to a lot of people in a short amount of time here.
Right. Okay. And a lot of corporates here as well. Obviously, having a look around, seeing who's doing what. I think that's the intriguing thing for me. With regards to your story. We are in a really kind of depressed market for equities. Which are picking equity, where is depressed at the moment. It's a tough environment to therefore get funding, a tougher environment for investors kind of, contemplate getting their hands in the pocket and giving people money. What are you saying to those guys and gals when you're meeting with them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're copper, right? So copper has a great fundamental economic future ahead of it. We all know that the clean energy transition is going to put huge demand on the copper supply. We don't have the copper in the ground to produce to meet those demands. So there's a looming supply gap in copper for sure. We do have a resource. It's small, but it's high grade. It's in an active mining district. Mm-hmm. So we have a resource that with just a few more million tons will make a definable project. That's a project that could stand alone. It could be a high-grade operating underground mine in Peru. We're in an active mining district. But the big story for us, of course, is the exploration upside. And one of the reasons we attracted Gold Fields is we have tier one potential in terms of discovery potential. It's a reason Gold Fields invested in the first place. They've been a part of every financing ever since. So we have two sides of the coin. We have the high-grade resource that's in the ground, proven already, and then we have the exploration upside to go out.
Right, okay. And I guess the plan next year is to get after it. So where do you know where are we sitting down making plans as to how you're going to get after this thing? Because I think the other thing I think kind of interesting to me was it's been a rough ride in Peru.
Right.
The last couple of years. That's now no longer an impediment to you. So do people want to invest into Peru now?
For the most part, I would say yes. Retail investors, I think, are a little bit skittish of Peru. It has changed. 2 years ago when Castillo came in, it was chaos. He was not really anti-mining, but he wasn't really supporting the mining industry. And the mining industry is the most important industry in Peru, right? It's the second largest copper producer in the world. It's a mining country. And I've always said it's a mining country now, and it always has been, and it always will be. And I do believe that. But there's a lot of political noise that happens. A lot of that's quieted down. Castillo's been impeached. There's a president in the administration now is very pro-business and pro-mining. Permits are happening. Projects are moving ahead. Collaboration on big projects is starting to happen. Rio Tinto and First Quantum coming together to develop La Granja. That's a huge development, multi-billion-dollar investment into the country. And there's several other big projects that are coming online. So Peru I think is going to be fine. And the people that know Peru know this, right? So it's the retail investors that kind of got scared away. But, now we're seeing the problems in Ecuador, and all the people that were fleeing to Ecuador, now they're looking back at Peru going, Peru looks pretty good.
Yeah, I guess these things ebb and flow. But okay, so Peru investable again. So come back to the question I started asking, which was more around your plans around drilling. Do you know what you want to get after?
Yeah, we do. And a big part of that is driven by this new permit that came out in June. And that permit, that was a long time waiting, right? That was 2.5 years trying to get this permit that doubles the size of the area where we can drill. It exposes the whole southern half of the project. And more importantly for us, it exposes the deeper parts of the exposed mineral system where we have a porphyry target. And that porphyry target, and I've said this to you before, it's one of the best targets I've ever seen in my career, and I've been doing this for a long time. It shoots about 2.5 kilometer gold molybdenum anomaly in soil. It's got an embedded IP geophysical anomaly right inside the middle of it. It looks exactly like a mineralized intrusion. It's not deep. You know, the top of that IP anomaly is about 125 meters below surface. So we've got a drill plan around that. There's 9 holes dedicated to that. We have additional high-grade breccia pipes, which we want to keep running with that high-grade breccia pipe story, because that's a project that can run on its own. Sure, if we get to tag into something, you know, tier 1, like, which is what Gold Fields has wanted us to do all along, that's going to take a life of its own for sure. But we're not abandoning our strategy on the high-grade breccias. We're supplementing, adding to it, and going after these bigger targets.
Right, and obviously Gold Fields, you know, still in a significant shareholder, but there also a bigger fish to fry elsewhere.
Yeah.
What's and again, this is really in the context of the backdrop of lots of conversations I've had this week, that people have had to adjust their strategies. People have had to think about JVs, mergers, spin outs, different ways of getting cash onto the balance sheet, or more importantly, into the bank account, so they can actually do the stuff that they know they can do, because the asset's fundamentally pretty darn good, right? You know, good teams with good assets trying to do good things, you should succeed. But in markets like this, it gets a bit harder. So in terms of Gold Fields' influence on you, or positive or negative with regards to some of those optionality, what are there conversations, or are you free reign to come at it any which way?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they've already said that they support what we're doing and they want to see these targets drilled. I mean, they're very pro exploration, right?
Yeah.
We do have this project that's looking better and better and better as a development asset, but it's not of the scale that they would
for
go
them.
after. Right.
Yeah, I can well see. That's why I'm asking this,
Yeah.
because like they'll be like, go drill the bejesus out of this thing, because we want you to show us something huge. Right. That's our profile. Right. But you as a public company, you got a whole different set of priorities. You've got to appease the shareholders and get the news and headlines out, which will, you know, drive that stock interest in the stock. So
right.
The slightly different needs there, right? So that was hence the question for you is how do you drive this for your shareholders forward? You've got to get focused on something, haven't you?
Yeah, and that's, you know, we've dealt with that from day one with Gold Fields. You know, they've been pro exploration, but one of the reasons they're such a good partner is because they've always understood, yep, you're in the junior mining industry, you've got to raise money, you have other shareholders, it's not just us. And they've been very supportive of us going out, for example, doing the drill out on the 7 breccia pipes that we put into the initial resource. That money could have just been spent on exploration. Now, we didn't have the permit on the south side, so that was a limitation. But they were very supportive of that because they understand that the business model that we have requires that we deliver results to the market, and the market's got to be there for us when we go to finance. So they've been good with that. We do have shareholders that are pro-development, want to see us run hard with this resource. And then we have other shareholders that are much in the camp of Gold Fields that just drill the heck out of this thing and let's see what we've got.
Well, it's kind of the Australian model, isn't it? It's like, well, let's get into production early, let's throw some money up, some cash up, less dilutive, and and money for exploration program. Right. So it's like a slow run up as opposed to the most efficient way of setting it up. Is that must tempt you somewhat?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and we're doing internal studies, of course, to look at the value of what we've got in the ground already at very early stage, internal scoping study type of stuff.
Definitely.
But to me, it's very encouraging. I take that information to the board, and then we plan our strategy from that. You know, ultimately, I'd like to do a PEA on what we've got, but that's better positioned after we do the next round of drilling. I know there's going to be discoveries. Those discoveries should get drilled out and updated resource, and then do a PEA based on the updated resource. That's the most logical path to follow.
For sure. Actually get some economics on it for the market, for sure. So what's the next few months hold for for you, David? What are you doing?
Well, we're ready to drill. We've got the drill permit. We're raising money to fund that drilling. Goldfields has already said that they're, very supportive of what we're trying to do. It's an
Financially
opportunity.
supportive?
Yep.
They'll follow the money?
Yep,
Good.
absolutely. And they've done that ever since, from the very beginning. Super supportive and technically supportive in every way that we've needed. Anything we've needed, they've always been there for us. So, that's great validation again, to go to the market and say, look, we've got a strategic investor in Goldfields. Their due diligence was second to none. And I've done lots of due diligence in my career, especially with the big majors that I've worked for. And they were as thorough as any major that I've ever worked for in terms of their due diligence. So they know what they're doing. Exploration is not an exact science, as you know. We never know what we're going to find until we drill the holes. And, they understand that. So that's why they've been such a great partner for us. But yeah, they're there. We need to raise some additional capital to go with what they can contribute. And then we're set to do the drill program. We've got a 4,000 meter drill program planned, and that was planned in collaboration with Goldfields and their technical team. So we're ready to go. Ideally, finish the capital raise, get drilling, announce new discoveries, and then start planning around, what to do next. And most likely, what I'd like to do is do some infill drilling, get some additions to the resource, and demonstrate that, the project, the high-grade breccia story is going to continue. And if we come through with discovery on this mega gold target, well, then it's a totally different ballgame.
You better get out and get some money. I know you've got a meeting shortly, so go get him, and I'll catch up with you later and kind of hear a little bit more about it. Copper story is always interesting to me.
Sounds great. Thank you, Matthew.